Afghanistan's Foreign Minister Amir Muttaqi, who is visiting India, has issued a stern warning to Pakistan, cautioning it against testing the courage of Afghans. The Taliban described the attack as an unprecedented act, accusing Pakistan of an incursion deep into its land.
Our remote areas have come under attack. We condemn this and we believe that this action by the Pakistan government is a major mistake. Problems cannot be resolved in this way. Afghanistan's history testifies that such issues cannot be resolved through force. The doors of dialogue should remain open and dialogue must happen.
And Prabhu Dayal, former senior Indian diplomat, joins us on the show now. Welcome, Mr. Dayal, to DD India News Hour. First of all, could you explain the reasons for the intermittent border clashes between Pakistan and Afghanistan? What are the key issues behind the hostilities between the two countries?
First of all, Tanvi, thanks for having me on your show. Now, there are many issues. First of all, let me say that Pakistan had helped the Taliban to return to power in Kabul. And I thought that the Taliban would be a manageable proxy. But its perception has been totally wrong because the Taliban has proved to be totally independent and has decided not to work under Pakistani influence. It has been totally uncooperative towards the government in Islamabad. In fact, relations have deteriorated significantly since the Taliban's return to power in August 2021. Now, the core issue at present is Pakistan's accusation that the Taliban government harbors and supports the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, or the TTP, which Islamabad blames for a surge in militant attacks within Pakistan. Now, of course, the two nations have a long history of strained relations and conflicting views over the Durand Line, which was the border established during the colonial era. Afghanistan has never recognized the border, and this adds another layer of animosity. Again, Pakistan's mass deportation of Afghan nationals, including those with legal refugee status, has also exacerbated tensions and further strained relations. Now, the tensions between Afghanistan and Pakistan have been escalating. Relations now are at an all-point low following the major escalation involving cross-border airstrikes and heavy clashes. Now, Pakistan accuses the Taliban government of sheltering the anti-Pakistan militants from the TTP. Of course, the Taliban denies this claim. And recently, on October 9, 2025, when the Afghan foreign minister was in India, Pakistan conducted airstrikes in Kabul targeting a leader of the TTP. Now, this marked a significant escalation with the TTP, vowing retaliation. And in response, the Afghan Taliban launched retaliatory attacks, leading to fierce clashes along the border. And these clashes have been taking place from October 11 onwards. So both sides claim to have captured border posts and inflicted casualties. However, the fighting prompted Pakistan to close key border crossings, including Torkham and Chaman.
Okay.
Now, this escalated while, as I said, the Afghan foreign minister was on a visit to India. And he very categorically said that if Pakistan wants to escalate, then Afghanistan will have no option but to do so. Of course, he also pointed out that Afghanistan wants peace. It doesn't want an escalation. At the same time, some key players like Saudi Arabia and Qatar have tried to mediate and to de-escalate. But as things stand at the moment, tensions are on the boil. And given the recent militant clashes and the ongoing disputes, it is unlikely that tensions between Afghanistan and Pakistan are going to ease in the near future.
Okay, some experts say that the Taliban lack the capacity to fight the Pakistan military head-on. Would you agree with that assessment? And what does that mean for the nature of hostilities between the two countries?
Of course, Pakistan is militarily much stronger. But in a conflict of this sort, there are many factors which come into play. First of all, the terrain. Secondly, Pakistan's own internal situation. Pakistan is under militant attacks in Balochistan as also in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So, given this fragile internal situation, Pakistan's capacity to strike at Afghanistan gets reduced because the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan operate both from within Pakistan and from across the border. So I don't think that Pakistan is in a position to really overturn the sort of situation. But of course, as I said, it is militarily much stronger, though the capacity of the Afghan side to strike back has been amply demonstrated in recent days.
Okay. Lastly, sir, what are the political, economic and other implications for the South Asian region if the hostilities between the two countries continue?
Well, conflicts are not good for any region. And this escalation of tensions between Pakistan and Afghanistan doesn't augur well at all for the future of either country. Of course, Afghanistan is in great economic difficulty. India has tried its best to assist Afghanistan with relief supplies, humanitarian aid, and also with the development of infrastructure projects. As regards Pakistan, its own weak economic situation is not hidden from anybody. And in fact, Pakistan has been trying to reach out to other countries, including especially the United States, to bail it out in this sort of a situation. Now, Pakistan has struck a deal for critical minerals in Pakistan to be explored by American firms. And in fact, it has signed a deal in this context. However, how can such a deal make any headway if there is militancy within two of the key areas for critical minerals, that is Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa? So for this reason, the internal situation in Pakistan stands to lose considerably if tensions with Afghanistan do not ease. Of course, Afghanistan also cannot afford an escalation of tensions because its own internal economic situation is very, very weak and fragile, and it can afford to do without this sort of escalation of tension. Nonetheless, the Pakistani attack on Kabul does not augur well at all for the bilateral relations between these two countries, as also for the regional situation in South Asia.
Okay, and sir, why are Saudi Arabia and Qatar especially concerned about these intermittent border clashes? Can they help find a lasting solution to this conflict?
Both countries exert a lot of influence on the warring parties. Saudi Arabia has recently signed a bilateral pact with Pakistan which relates to mutual defense. In other words, attacks on Pakistan would be interpreted by Pakistan as attack also on Saudi Arabia, because that is the sort of terminology which is used in the bilateral agreement. Attacks on one country will be construed as an attack on the other. So for this reason, Saudi Arabia doesn't want an escalation of this tension. As regards Qatar, Qatar has played a very important role in the reinstallation of the Taliban in power in Kabul. In fact, all the talks which were held in this context were held in Doha. So both these countries want a de-escalation. They don't want Pakistan and Afghanistan to escalate tensions because things will go out of hand. In fact, nobody wants an escalation of tension. But the authorities in Islamabad seem to think that they are militarily much stronger and they have escalated the tension instead of trying to diffuse matters.
Okay, thank you very much, Prabhu Dayal ji, for being with us and your analysis on the subject. Well, tomorrow we hope the Gaza crisis gets solved and nobody wants more wars in the world. Thank you very much, Prabhu Dayal ji, for being with us on the show.